before I show you where it is, you'll see that a lot of these are being held together by rubber bands. These have now become the tendons of these particular muscles. They've been used by thousands of students before you, and again, will continue to be used by as many as possible for as long as I can get these things to keep standing up. So if something happens to come apart, don't go doing your own surgery and trying to put things together if you don't know where it goes, because the gluteus maximus does go in the buttock area, not down in the foot. So I'll put it together for you if it happens to fall apart. But you are going to have to move some of these muscles away anyway. So if this is the gluteus maximus that covers the buttock area, deep to it, right here, is the gluteus medius. Deep to the gluteus maximus is the gluteus medius. Now, still deep to the gluteus maximus is another muscle, a small muscle. It's actually a rotator of your hip. It's called the piriformis, and this here is the piriformis. You can say it's below the gluteus medius. This is the piriformis. Okay. The next one sounds like something you'll order at Starbucks. It's called the tensor fasciolata. Okay. Tensor fasciolata is a lateral hip muscle. It's one of your lateral flexors. It's like lateral flexors, and also hip flexor as well. But it's this muscle right over here. This is the tensor fasciolata. Okay, small muscle right over here, lateral hip. And it's attached to this long band, this whitish color right over here, called the iliotibial band. So you'll see I wrote that on your sheet. The iliotibial band you will be responsible for as well. So this sheath, this whitish color you see here, is the iliotibial band, which is attached onto the tensor fasciolata. Okay. Next muscle, the sartorius. The sartorius is found in the front of the leg. It's part of your, it covers your, what we call the quadricep group of muscles. All right, the quadriceps are all found in the front of your legs here. It is a long muscle that literally crosses two joints, your hip joint as well as your knee joint, and it's a long muscle that goes right across. This here is your sartorius muscle. Long muscle that goes right across the front and top of your leg. Next we have the quadriceps group. The word quadriceps refers to how many muscles? Quad. What would that be? Four muscles. So again, your quadriceps is not the same thing as your hamstrings. People get very confused. Quadriceps are the front of your leg, hamstrings are the back of the top of your leg, right? Not the other way around. A lot of people say, oh, my hamstrings are hurt. No, they're not. Your quadriceps are hurt, right? This would be your quads. Made up of 4 different muscles. You're going to be responsible for actually identifying 3 of the 4. The first one is called the rectus femoris. Rectus femoris is right down the middle here. This is the rectus femoris. Next one is called the vastus medialis, and the one after that is the vastus lateralis. So vastus medialis, if you look at the rectus femoris over here, just medial to it, right over here, is the vastus medialis. Lateral to the rectus femoris, vastus lateralis. So medialis, lateralis. Medialis, lateralis. Again, when you go back, you look at the numbers, it will help you identify where these things are. Don't try to memorize it by number, people, because I can't guarantee what models you're having on your test, and that's certainly when you guys can become doctors, nurses, whatever it is, and you're looking at a muscle, it's not going to have a number on it, okay? So, rectus femoris, vastus medialis, vastus lateralis. The vastus intermedius is actually a muscle that sits deep, which I'm not going to take apart right now. If you were to go underneath the rectus femoris, there's a muscle underneath it, also one of your quad muscles, quadricep muscles, and that's called the rectus intermedius. Not responsible for it on the test. More specifically, the vastus intermedius. Okay. Next one, pectineus. What is this bone right here? Visualize the leg,
pubis?
visualize the pelvis.
Pubic?
What is this called? The pubic bone. You look just lateral to the pubic bone, right over here, inside here, this little muscle, right over here. That's your pectineus. Okay? Connects into the pubic bone area. Next two. You guys remember when we spoke about adduction and abduction? What does abduction do? Abduction. Move something, it's anything that's responsible for moving something away from the midline. Right? Adduction would be bringing it closer to the midline. Now this muscle here, the next two are called the adductors, ADD. So that means these are muscles that are going to be responsible for doing what?
Taking
Towards the midline. Which means then, if we're talking about the leg, it's going to be a muscle that when it contracts, pulls the leg towards the midline. Do any of these muscles on the outside of your legs, do you think, when they contract, will they pull the muscles toward the midline, pull your leg towards the midline? No. All the muscles on the outside of your leg are abductors. Okay? The adductors are the ones on the inside of your leg that are going to bring the leg in, adduction. So adductor, ADD, adductor longus, and the next one being adductor magnus. Let's do longus first. Right over here, if you were looking at this sartorius, you could say it's medial to the sartorius right here. Adductor longus. Now, posterior to the adductor longus is another one here called the adductor medius. You have longus and medius. Longus and medius. Medius is, if you would do alphabetical order, L to M, doesn't L come before M? All right, so from front to back, it's longus and medius. Longus and medius. Longus is always anterior, medius posterior. Okay? And it's separated by another muscle, right over here. A long adductor also, responsible for adduction. As much as I hate to use this particular terminology, but it is, actually I'm not even going to use it. This muscle, I am. It's been known as the, I remember it back in learning it in the day, and young people don't hate the messenger now, but it's known as the virgin muscle. The reason why it's called the virgin muscle, we're all mature here, is because when it contracts, it keeps the legs completely closed. Okay? I didn't get that. But the gracilis muscle right over here, we refer to it as the virgin muscle. Just anterior to the gracilis, adductor longus. Posterior to the gracilis,
medium.
adductor
Medius.
magnus, LM, anterior posterior. Okay? Everyone got that? Adductor longus, gracilis, adductor magnus. All of these are adductors. When they contract, they bring the leg towards the midline. Okay, now we're going to sort of the hamstring area, which is the back of the upper leg. The two you're responsible for here, first of all, are called the semitendinosus and the semimembranosus. Is this the medial or lateral part of the leg right here?
Medial.
Medial, okay? So on the medial side, you're going to see two muscles. It's actually two separate muscles right over here. Two separate muscles. The small thin one right over here is called the semimembranosus. The other muscle that looks like it's attached with it and runs parallel to it, semitendinosus. M comes before T, from anterior to posterior. Semimembranosus, semitendinosus. Membranosus, tendinosus. Repetition, people, remember, that's the only thing that's going to help you. Okay? Over it, over and over again. The other one in the hamstring area, key one, responsible for flexion at the knee, is called the biceps femoris. What's the name of the long bone that attaches up here that covers the upper part of the leg?
Femur.
The femur, right? So biceps femoris is the strong flexor of the back of the leg. Flexor at the knee, biceps femoris. Much like the biceps of the arm, however, we're talking about the leg here, so the biceps femoris. That's the entire upper part of the leg, into the buttock. Now we move down to the lower part of the leg. We're going to start in the anterior compartments here. The next one you're responsible for is called the tibialis anterior. Where's your tibia? Down there. Yeah, all right. Distal leg, is it medial or lateral? Medial. What you're actually looking at here is the tibia. You see it? See the bone right over here? That is your tibia. So just anterior to it, see the muscle that lays literally just anterior to it? That's the tibialis anterior. Now the next one is called the extensor hallucis. You guys remember the name of the toe? What is another name for the toe besides calling it the first name? The hallux. So extensor hallucis is a muscle responsible for extending the big toe. So it's going to be found on the anterior compartment here, the anterior surface. Now every muscle is attached by a tendon, is it not? Correct? These are all tendons that go down to your toes. If you were to follow the one on the hallux, which is the big toe right over here, you would follow that tendon all the way up, and then it seems to go underneath this particular muscle, because it does go underneath this particular muscle. You'll see the number for extensor hallucis right over here. This is the extensor hallucis, just underneath this other muscle, which we're going to go over in a second. So follow the tendon for the extensor hallucis all the way up. It does go underneath this muscle, and it attaches behind this muscle, so extensor hallucis. The muscle that it attaches behind is called the extensor digitorum longus. Think about what I'm saying now. Extensor digitorum. Basically, it's telling you it's a muscle that's responsible for extending the digits, meaning the toes. So if you follow all the other muscle tendons down to the other toes, follow them all the way up, they're all part of this muscle. So this is the extensor digitorum longus. Deep to it, what is it? Extensor hallucis, all right? So extensor digitorum anterior, extensor hallucis posterior. Or deep to it. Okay. Now follow what we're saying here. The next group of muscles is called the triceps surae. If you notice, I put on your sheet A, B, and C. The reason why I put A, B, and C is because triceps refers to how many muscles? 3, all right? And there are actually 3 muscles that make up the tricep, especially down in here in the calf. This group over here is called the triceps surae, and it's made up of the 3 muscles that go as follows. The large one right over here that has 2 different heads, this large one right over here, is your gastrocnemius. So if you see, I wrote A and B are gastrocnemius, correct? You see that? But yet it's 1 muscle, but it has 2 heads. So this here is the medial head of the gastrocnemius,
The lateral.
head of the gastrocnemius. That's the 2 gastroc muscles, okay? Medial head, lateral head. Gastrocnemius, believe it or not, it's kind of funny, especially for bodybuilders, people who exercise a lot, or just men in general. This is one of the most commonly implanted muscles in men, okay? Men are always self-conscious of their legs, especially the lower part of their legs. So believe it or not, women go for breast implants, men will go for gastroc implants or calf implants, right? And it's actually pretty common. So medial head, lateral head. So far, that's 2 of the 3 muscles. The third muscle, letter C there, is called the soleus. Soleus is deep to the gastrocs. So if you'll see another muscle just deep to it, right here, that's your soleus muscle. Okay? So medial head, lateral head, and then deep to the gastrocs is the soleus right here. Now all of these guys, all 3 of these muscles, the triceps surae, all share a common tendon. Common tendon, what do you think this tendon is?
Oh, that's your iliac?
This is the Achilles tendon, right? When these muscles contract, they are responsible for basically plantar flexing your foot. We did plantar flexion, you guys should remember that. It's basically kind of doing a standing up on your toes kind of motion, okay? Or elevating the heel. So when these contract, they will pull the foot up, right? To enable you to stand up on your toes. This is the Achilles tendon. So all 3 of these muscles share the same tendon called the Achilles tendon. Okay? These are the muscles of the legs. Now, back in your stations over here, you should be.
Oh, okay.